Now at 10, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Disaster that happened in the skies last night over Arlington, Virginia. Thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 10. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Right now, the investigation's really just beginning, and there's still a lot to unpack here. So here's what we know right now. Search and rescue teams are out in the Potomac River. They're searching for bodies. Still dozens of people are unaccounted for. An Army helicopter collided with an American Airlines flight last night just before 9. And at last check, 28 bodies have been pulled from the water, including 3 soldiers from that helicopter. A total of 67 people were involved in the crash, all presumed dead.
Now, for those wondering how this crash could have happened, the National Transportation Safety Board says it's just too soon to speculate, but NTSB investigators did say they expect to release a preliminary report within 30 days. Leaders say flight conditions were clear and the jet coming from Wichita, Kansas was making a routine landing when the helicopter flew into its path.
And tonight, the Associated Press says they've obtained a report that says the air traffic control tower was understaffed. That report goes on to say one staff member was working 2 positions at the time of the collision, and that's not normal for that time of day, nor that volume of traffic.
And as for the victims, a group of young figure skaters, their coaches and family members are among the passengers on that American Airlines flight. Among that group, Evgenia Shishkova and Vadim Naumov, a pair of Russian figure skaters and coaches who worked as pairs coaches at the International Skating Center of Connecticut. They were most recently serving as coaches at the Skating Club of Boston. And
tonight we've learned one of the victims was a husband and father from Connecticut. He was from Salem, Connecticut. His name is Casey Crafton, husband to wife Rachel and father to 3 sons. State Senator Martha Marks, who represents the town of Salem, says on Facebook, "My heart goes out to the Crafton Gadbo family during this unimaginable time. I ask our community to keep them in your prayers as they navigate this profound loss." And as we mentioned, 2 of the victims had worked here in Connecticut. There were at least 14 figure skaters on that American Airlines flight, and 2 were well known in the town of Simsbury. Fox 61's Matt Karen went to the International Skating Center of Connecticut to learn more.
For decades, the International Skating Center here in Simsbury has been a training ground for figure skaters famous across the globe, athletes who have even taken their talents to the Olympics. They're a close-knit community on this day gripped with grief.
Horrific tragedy.
That's how professionals of the skating community are describing the fiery mid-air collision Wednesday night between an American Airlines jet and a U.S. Army helicopter. The crash at Ronald Reagan National Airport in D.C. is presumed to have killed 67 souls. Exactly what happened is still unclear.
We need to take our time to make sure it is accurate. That's best for you. That's important for the families. It's important for legislators who are seeking answers to try to figure out what they're going to do about this. And so it will take time. We do have a lot of information, but we need some time to verify that.
Among those aboard, professional figure skaters, their families, and their coaches.
This will have long-reaching impacts for our skating community.
Coaches like Evgenia Shishkova and Vadim Naumov.
The 2 coaches, Evgenia Shishkova and Vadim Naumov, top coaches. They were the 1994 World Pair Champions, and they came to us in 2017.
Prior to their time at the Skating Club of Boston, the pair was well known inside the International Skating Center of Connecticut in Simsbury. Owner Kelly Beckinsale didn't want to go on camera, but sent Fox 61 a statement that reads in part, "We are heartbroken by the tragedy that has impacted our skating community. The community is small, yet incredibly strong. Our hearts are broken as we process this devastating loss and uncertainty surrounding those involved in the tragedy. Many of those aboard were not only training partners, fellow coaches and colleagues, but also dear friends and members of our extended skating family." The ISCC allowed Fox 61 inside to get video of their facility, home to both an Olympic and NHL-sized ice rink. On this day of grief, the Simsbury police stopped by with comfort dog Clifton.
Hi, good boy. Hello. Hello, good boy.
I did speak with the owners of the International Skating Center off camera. They told me they're still working to gather more information about exactly what happened and wrap their head around this tragic event. They would be willing to share more remembrances in the days ahead. Reporting in Simsbury, Matt Caron, Fox 61.
Well, President Donald Trump addressed the nation about the crash between the American Airlines jet and that Army helicopter over the Potomac last night. President Trump requested a moment of silence, underscoring a somber time for the nation and for the families who lost loved ones. And while he says the cause of the crash is unknown, he said it was a dark day for the nation's capital.
This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly. And we are a country of, really, we are in mourning.
Now, in his speech, Mr. Trump told Americans that flying is still very safe. The National Transportation Safety Board and U.S. military will carry out an investigation into this deadly crash. Now, former President Joe Biden took to his X account after hearing about the crash and said, quote, "Jill and I are praying for the families of the victims who tragically lost their lives in the plane and helicopter crash near DCA. We are immensely grateful to the brave first responders and emergency personnel on the scene." Likewise, former President Barack Obama posted on his X account, saying in part, quote, "Our hearts break for the families who lost loved ones in the tragic plane and helicopter crash at DCA. Michelle and I send our prayers and condolences to everyone who is mourning today, and we're grateful to the first responders who are doing everything they can to help under extremely difficult circumstances."
We're closely watching the latest developments coming out of D.C. To catch all the breaking developments on Fox61.com, the free Fox 61 News app, and streaming anytime for free on Fox 61 Plus.
All right, to the weather now. We're on a weather impact alert tonight. There's some wintry weather moving into the area.
So let's check in with meteorologist Deshaun Robinson for a first check on the forecast. So Deshaun, when are we expecting things to start here?
Good morning, guys. Well, good evening, guys. Well, we have that winter weather advisory in effect for Litchfield and northern New Haven counties for tomorrow morning, and we do expect the precipitation to start sometime around 6 or 7 a.m. Now, this will be a low-impact event as the ice will be mostly confined to the hills of Litchfield County. So this wave of low pressure will push into our region tomorrow with those scattered showers. It is cloudy right now. It will remain rather cloudy for much of the night. Our temperatures will gradually rise through the night as that warm southerly flow continues to push warmer air into our region. Walk with those umbrellas tomorrow. It's going to be a wet one, scattered showers mainly throughout the day. So a few rain showers for much of your day on Friday. Our highs will top out near 40 degrees. As you wake up again, there is a slight chance for some icy spots in Litchfield and New Haven counties, where temperatures are likely to be below freezing for the first half of the morning. Here is a look at the next 3 days. I'll have more on the forecast coming up.
Well, this week kicks off tax season here in America, and of course it takes a lot of work to make sure everything is filed correctly so you don't get in trouble with the IRS. And
naturally, a lot of questions are popping up about how you can save the most money. But could the answer be found on your utility bill? Fox 61's Stefan Reels looks into it.
A lot of times people think to look to deductibles to save money on their taxes, and one of the most popular ways to do it is through giving to a charity. And this brings us to a question we got from one of our viewers. Gary Taylor asked our news team, is the public benefits charge on my Eversource monthly electric bill deductible as a charitable contribution on my tax returns?
So we did a little digging on this and went right to the source. We checked in with Eversource to get some answers, and we also asked Max Tax Services, a tax prep service in Bristol, and finally Quinnipiac University.
Every month, Eversource utility customers get a bill that looks like this. Right here in the bottom right corner, that is going to be how much we pay every month for our electricity. And right up here in the top right corner is where it's all broken down. This public benefits charge right here in orange says it goes towards supporting energy programs authorized by the state.
According to a spokesperson at Eversource, this charge is legally required to be on everyone's bill under state law, but Eversource doesn't profit from it. Generally, the money from this charge supports assistance programs customers can take advantage of, like energy efficiency programs, solar initiatives, and EV charger programs.
So since Eversource doesn't really profit from this charge and it goes towards these programs, can it really be claimed as a deductible for a charitable contribution? Well, the short answer is no.
According to a representative from Max Tax Services, while they may support public welfare, they are not classified as charitable donations and therefore cannot be deducted in the same manner as contributions made to a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
As we're into tax filing season, so many people are looking at ways to minimize their tax bill. Unfortunately, the public benefits charge on your utility bill is really a hidden regulatory fee.
Sarah Spodek is a tax clinic director at Quinnipiac University, and she says the only way you can claim a charitable deduction on your taxes is if it's made to a 501c3 nonprofit or charity recognized by the IRS.
And in the event all of your itemized deductions exceed your standard deduction, that is when you actually get to claim charitable deduction.
So while the answer is no, Spodek says it's actually better to ask these questions now so you don't run into other problems down the line when you file. But for now in the studio, Stefan Reels, Fox 61.
If you have any other questions you'd like our team to dig into, especially with tax season here, you can use the email you see there on your screen.